Hello, world. Welcome to the show. Candlekeep Mysteries. It's the new book of one-shot mystery adventures coming out March 16th. It's going to be available to purchase on D&D Beyond. In fact, you can pre-order it right now. It's gonna come with a ton of DDB goodies, new character frames, backgrounds, themes, a really cool mysterious set of mystery dice, all that. But we've talked a little bit on this show about how to play mysteries and what's going to be in the book, but we haven't answered a big question. Why? Why play mysteries in D&D Beyond? Myself and Adam Bradford here are going to chat about it a little bit. Adam, as you know, a key member of D&D Beyond, who is leaving us for incredible new opportunities and who I'm going to milk every last bit of content time out while he's legally obligated to do so. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Joe? I think you only have me for one more time. Is that right?
I know. That's why this stream is going to be 6 hours long.
Oh, okay. Got it. I'll tell my wife to hold dinner.
Yeah, you ain't leaving, man. I'm Joe Starr. I'm the senior producer of content for DDB and Phantom Tabletop. I'm also the face you're going to be seeing week to week here until I find someone better to do it. And I am currently in the midst.
Someone else, not better.
Jury's out. Jury's out. So I know a lot of changes coming at you guys left and right. They're going to keep coming, but it's all going to be really cool stuff. I'm really excited for what's ahead. And before we get started, I wanted to send some love to Texas, which is covered in just a disgusting amount of snow that's come with a lot of infrastructure challenges and a lot of challenges for the people living there. So we wanted to send some love and well wishes your way. We're definitely thinking about you here. But that said, let's jump into talking about Candlekeep a little bit. Mysteries are tough for me. When I found out about this book, Adam, I was honestly kind of like, okay, because that brings us to, I think, the first reason why you should jump in and run a mystery for your D&D table. It's going to build your confidence as a dungeon master. For one thing, I'm terrible at puzzles and mystery. I think I'm very good at atmosphere. I can give you all the Lynchian Twin Peaks spookiness, but I can't give you the stake. I can set the table. I can't give you the stake. I'm terrible at them. Have you found you sort of had to like work and grow into that kind of thing as a DM, or you've probably already just always had a knack for it.
I wouldn't say that at all. I think that when it comes to mysteries, the real challenge that I have found over the years is you have to walk this really, really fine line between giving the players enough to sink their teeth into that they are going to be able to follow the thread of whatever the heart and the core of the mystery is, without making it so obvious that so it's like you've got to kind of lightly brush them across the cheek with dropping the clues and that kind of thing. But where I have failed over in the 3 decades I've been doing this, where I have failed in the past, and I have, by the way, let's be very, very clear, there have been sessions where I try to introduce some type of mystery element to the adventure, and the players figure it out immediately. It is no longer a mystery. The great thing about these games is you just kind of keep rolling. You have no idea what's going to actually happen at the table sometimes, and so you just keep rolling with that. But then there have been other times where I've been just so opaque about what's going on because I don't want them to figure out what's going on with the mystery yet, that they don't have enough that they can actually kind of figure it out. So that's where I have seen the biggest challenge come in, is just figuring out what is the right amount of information to give the player characters, and especially even when you're giving that information out, how do you engage that with the mechanics of the game very, very effectively? So you don't ever want a mystery to just simply come down to a single skill check. Oh, we have a cat alert. Hello, cat. It's so distracting in the best way. So I've just completely lost my train of thought now. But it's okay because there's a cat.
They're very into mystical libraries in fantasy lore. So
that's it. But yeah, ultimately I think that trying to find what don't reduce it to a single skill check, or because somebody out there is like, well, I'll do 3 skill checks. No, don't reduce it to just skill checks, but then how much of it can be player knowledge. So I'm not offering a ton of solutions in that, but I am saying that, those are some of the challenges that I've come up against. And there have been times where I have been able to walk that line really, really effectively. And those are some of the most memorable sessions I've ever run. And then other times the players completely derail what's going on, and then it turns into a giant combat. And, sometimes that's how that goes, and that can be fun in its own way.
Well, that's why I really like this book coming out. Because, like you said, you're not necessarily offering any solutions right now, because you could offer me all the solutions in the world. I'll talk about me specifically, because again, this guy, bad at mysteries. And they still won't necessarily click. What I love about Candlekeep Mysteries is that being able to walk through mysteries that other people have written, right, are going to build your confidence to be able to create your own, and to be able to navigate your own. It's no different than, you want to be a mystery writer? Read Agatha Christie, read the greats, so that you can really, get a hold of this and really like understand the genre. So I think being able to walk through these incredible, short scenarios that have been put together by some really amazing writers, I think is going to be great for building the confidence of a DM. And also,
I love the diversity in the writers too. Just it's really great that you have a product like this that is going to have these bite-sized mysteries and adventures that you can run for your table. But I love the idea that, since they have employed so many different writers to write these adventures, there's such a spread of tone, of difficulty, like just all of the factors that you're probably looking for out there. That they've done such a good job, and getting a sneak peek at what's happening. I really think that these are going to be so useful, regardless of whether you're running a campaign that's ongoing, and you've got all these sessions planned out in advance. Like these are perfect things to pop in. They're perfect things for one shots. So just again, like coming at it from so many different angles is going to make this something truly special. And to be honest, like we've had other anthology style books so far in 5th edition with Tales from the Yawning Portal. We've got Ghost of Saltmarsh to a degree is doing that. But I think that this one really is unique in that there aren't other adventures that are really the size that these are, which very, very consumable and digestible, which I love. And then also again, just the different tones. And then the last thing that I'll say on that, because I'm chasing all the tangents right now, is that one of my favorite things in the Elder Scrolls series is to just find a book and read that book. I am that person that the reason it takes me 800 hours to play Skyrim is I read the books and everything else that I come across in that. And I love finding a book that says a quest has been added to your log. And so it's like you got this book and it leads you on this whirlwind adventure. And I love that concept that's happening here in Candlekeep Mysteries as well.
Yeah, there's nothing like in Elder Scrolls pausing a battle with a dragon priest in order to check out the nearby books. I agree with you completely.
Very realistic. Hey, wait! I'm not finished here.
Like, yeah. Forceful shout, short. Hang on. Also, you guys stick around at the end here. We're going to take some questions from you guys in chat and do a little bit of an AMA here at the end of the show. To thank you guys for sticking around and hanging out. Adam, you sort of mentioned, dropping these into campaigns. And I think that sort of rolls us into my second big reason why you should give Candlekeep Mysteries a chance if it's not something that was already on your radar. You can give your campaign a breather. I think if you looked at Candlekeep Mysteries and it's the kind of book where you kind of said, this doesn't really fit what I do, or what my players do, I think, in my own opinion, that's a great reason to do it. One of my favorite things in TV and in comic books is the bottle episode, you know, the one and done. They're stuck in an elevator together, or, you know, it's just it's the ultimate, you know, one shot with these characters. Maybe it's not going to play into the plot of your ongoing themes of reality folding in on itself and your champion's struggle to prevent that from happening. But I think the character growth that you get is going to carry on into your, you know, your next chapter moving forward in really interesting ways. And I think you'll get really cool character growth from your players and really just great moments at your table that you weren't expecting if you drop something like this in, you know, as a bottle episode for your campaign.
I think that one of the things that I'm trying to remember back to all the various campaigns. I'm trying to remember the, you know, handful that have been really long-term campaigns that I run over the course of my time with the game. And most, I think all of them, perhaps, I think it's a truthful thing for me to say that all of them have had some point at some time where the player characters want to go to the library. And what's fascinating about these fantasy games that we play is it's not like you're just going to the satellite branch down the street to go to the library. Everybody makes a big deal to go to the library for whatever setting it is, you know. So it's like, yeah, if you're playing Star Wars, you're going to, you know, Coruscant's, the biggest library literally in the galaxy, or you're going to Candlekeep. And I was trying to just, I mean, there have been at least a dozen times that I can think of, you know, where groups that I'm playing regular games with will go to Candlekeep because, you know, it's the library that you're going to run into. And so I think that so many campaigns have that kind of built-in excuse almost to go to the library anyway. And so I agree that this is a perfect way to allow for that breather, because, you know, maybe you just got off a big story arc, a big leg, some major moment for one of the characters, and then they're trying to figure out information. I'll never forget one of my, I used to write fan fiction before fan fiction became like a real thing on the internet. But I remember writing fan fiction for the first time that I read The Lord of the Rings, and Gandalf went off to find out what's going on with the One Ring when he starts suspecting, as Frodo has it, you know. And I remember writing about Gandalf's adventures going to Minas Tirith and to these other places to try to find information about the One Ring. And so I remember seeing the movie in the movie when this happened, and he's like reading the scrolls and stuff and just kind of geeking out, because I was like, oh, I wrote about that. But it's like that sense that you're going and researching and finding out some crucial piece of information for whatever's coming next. And then when you get to a library like Candlekeep and it has, you know, thousands of books, there are all kinds of excuses to get a little sidetracked from whatever it was that you were doing. And again, these adventures are going to be perfect for that. Hey, you know, while a player who happens to not be here this session, while that player is researching in the library and trying to find out what's going on with maybe the main thread that you're pulling in the campaign, this is a great thing for the rest of the characters to be able to do while that's going on. So yeah, I think the utility is going to be huge for this book.
Yeah. Well, and utility too, you know, I think just a reality for these games, for your weekly home game, is eventually, you know, no matter how hard you're working, eventually it's going to get a little boring. That it is what it is. Mine run out of gas all the time. You might start to feel that spark start to fizzle a little bit. You might see your players get that weird calmness, like, oh wait, nope, sorry, don't want to spoil The Good Place. Although it's on my mind.
Yeah, you just got finished watching it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
such a forking great show.
If you're feeling that sort of like, feel like maybe we're running out of gas, play Amy Vorpal's campaign adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries. It's goofy and weird, and if you kind of go, you know what, I don't know if that tonally matches what we do, that's why you do it. If you've got the most grimdark serious business D&D campaign, flip the script one day and play Candlekeep Deconstruction in Candlekeep Mysteries. I think your players are going to have such a fun time. I don't know what's happening here. I apologize.
Don't apologize for animals, Joe. Come on.
But I think your players are going to get re-energized, and then once you get back on the main road of fighting to keep reality from falling in on itself, everyone's going to feel refreshed. They're going to feel re-energized, and that's just and it's such an easy way to do that. Pre-written, ready for you to go. Finally, the third reason, and then we'll get into answering some of your questions, is speaking of those players. I think running a mystery isn't just going to build confidence for you, the DM, but it's going to build confidence for your friends. It's going to build confidence, I think, for the players at your table. Nothing makes me feel stupider than my DM revealing a door, and I spend 15 minutes looking around the door. Is there a way to go over the door? How do I unlock the door? Do I unlock the door with magic? Is there a riddle? And then 10 minutes later, we finally go, can we turn the knob? And the DM's like, yeah, you can just turn the knob. And I just think nothing's going to build player confidence. And that's an important part of D&D to me is growing as a person a little bit. Nothing's going to improve player confidence like solving a mystery or cracking the case.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that one of the things that we talk about in the world of business often is the Peter principle, and this idea that if someone is good at a particular thing, it doesn't follow, like it's a logical inconsistency to think that that person's going to be good at something else. And so we talk all the time about how important it is to have people running games, dungeon masters, game masters out there. And trust me, it is. It's incredibly important to have that. Candlekeep Mysteries is going to be a wonderful tool for people who are starting out running games and wanting to get into the DM chair. It really is going to be such a great kind of primer that's going to help you do that in these bite-sized chunks. So I am not, by what I'm about to say, in any way trying to discourage anyone from trying to run games, because we need more people running games. That's the way that more and more people are going to start playing these games. And I ultimately believe that more, if everybody in the world could play these games, the world would just be a better place. And so it's like, all of that notwithstanding, sometimes people who are playing just want to play the game and they want to be the best player that they can be. And, using that Peter principle, it doesn't necessarily follow that a really good player must be a good dungeon master. There can be the equivalency of, promotions within the player ranks that can happen by leveling up how you play and bringing more to that collaborative experience around the table. And so I definitely agree. I think something like Candlekeep Mysteries is going to provide a whole lot for dungeon masters to be able to run with those players, but it's going to give a wonderful framework for the players to be able to, again, sink their teeth into that and kind of stretch outside of some of the, because there's always that player that we know that is just starting out and they're playing a fighter. It's probably a human because that's by far the most likely outcome there. But they're used to, I swing, I attack the creature, and that's ultimately what they're getting out of the game initially, because they might be a little timid, they might just not understand the rules quite yet, and all the things that happen when we're starting out. But these kinds of experiences that you'll see in these sorts of adventures are great ways to stretch as a player. And, if you do happen to run games, it's going to make you better at that if you're in the player's seat. But if you even don't have an interest in doing that, it's going to give you, so much more that you can kind of come up against that challenge and overcome those challenges. And it's going to make you a better rounded player as well.
Absolutely. And I think this book definitely provides an opportunity to do that in a very healthy, positive way. an encouraging way, as opposed to the mysteries I attempt that just lead to everyone being very frustrated and never wanting to do this again. Candlekeep Mysteries is coming out March 16th. You guys, you can pre-order it right now on D&D Beyond.com. You want to answer some questions, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
Question number 1, explain yourself. Kidding. Question number 1, fanboy of Bolus just says articles ? Yes, article. I apologize for the gap in publishing, you guys. Articles are kicking back up this week. We have some cool stuff coming. Simple steps to building your own homebrew campaign. We're also going to dig into, if you're a fan of WandaVision, we're going to dig into some ideas of how to adapt something like WandaVision for your table. Inspirations from existing source books, ways to approach that with your players. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So definitely some articles and stuff like that on the way. Jay Hazer says, can we see more of the cat? Yes. Cat here. You're going to see a lot of Sarah. Screen Junkies fans know that she's a part of almost every stream and does this for most of them. And it's generally just sort of a pain in the butt.
The best kind of one.
Storm Knight UK, I'll give this one to you, Adam. What is your favorite mystery plot from across any fandom, not necessarily just D&D? What's your favorite mystery you've ever watched?
Wow.
The first thing that jumps to me while you're thinking is who shot Mr. Burns from The Simpsons? That was the last time I remember a fictional mystery being a huge deal. Everyone was talking about who shot Mr. Burns.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good one. I wasn't there live for that, but I definitely caught up to it. And I think that, I think for me, it's a blessing and a curse, I think, but I watch so much television. I watch an embarrassing amount of television, and it's, one of my favorite pastimes. And I think that I am kind of cursed with this ability to, figure things out too quickly. So, my wife and I just kind of compete to, yell out what the thing is like before it happens. And we have a, 90+% success rate probably. And so, but again, it's just because I study the art of television a whole lot. And so I think that like to really, really get into it for me, where a mystery affected me maybe the most, I would have to go back to when I was a kid, because I remember this like it was yesterday. I can tell you how the carpet smelled at the place where I was watching this, but I was watching the Batman animated series, and Batman the animated series, and when Mr. Freeze was introduced and just what was going on and what motivated Mr. Freeze, I remember, and especially at that time, that's when I really started to cue on the fact that Batman was the world's greatest detective. And so it was like, oh, he's supposed to figure out this kind of stuff. And so just kind of going through that arc of, figuring out why Mr. Freeze was doing what he was doing, and Batman being able to, get to him through that was just such again, I can play that over in my head any time. It lives there rent free probably at this point. But yeah, I think that would be the first time anyway that I remember being really impacted by a mystery in a story.
When in doubt, always go to Batman the animated series.
Yeah, a lot of my answers can go back to that. Yes.
Tadwin asks, for newer DMs, what would be things that would help running a mystery, as well as some things to avoid? The most helpful thing I can think of is to never make something a failure. And what I mean by that is your players can fail, but what do they gain as a result of that failure? They may not have solved the mystery in time to prevent, another crime from happening, but how can the story still advance for them? How are there still opportunities for your friends to have fun exploring this mystery, even if they failed, and even if they haven't necessarily figured something out? So it's a way of just further immersing them into the story that you're telling, as opposed to sort of tallying wins and losses for them. And I would approach them winning a mystery the same way. Adam Adam and I, have that problem of, players immediately going, it's Steve. Steve's the killer. And you kind of go, cool, that's 5 sessions we can just sort of cut out of the schedule. So even if, they succeed early on, how can you roll with that punch and make that success not a conclusion that destroys your mystery, but a wrinkle? You always have the opportunity behind the DM screen to just kind of go, but there's more, even if there's not more. So you can turn those wins into wrinkles down the road too. They found the killer, cool. But then the next week and the week after that, copycats are coming up. Is there a cult of Steve? All of a sudden you can turn all of these moments into really cool opportunities for your players.
Yeah, I think I've got 3 things here, and I'll try to be brief because I could just really, really go on and on about these 3 things. But, number 1, probably the best single bit of advice I got along the last 30 years, and I am sure that I read it in Dragon or Dungeon magazine somewhere, and unfortunately I can't attribute credit to where that came from at this point, because it's just a part of what I do now. But it was this concept that you should treat non-player characters, that even if the player characters are not watching them. So it's that idea of a child, nothing exists that a child's not seeing at the time. So it's Truman Show kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but it's like so many of our games, our NPCs are like they're in the Truman Show, and when they are not on the actual camera, they're not moving, they're not scheming, they're not doing those kind of things. And so I would say that treat the NPCs motivations as consistent, especially when it comes to a mystery. So if the player characters are not pulling on certain threads in that mystery, try to ask yourself, what would the NPCs do? They're not just waiting around for the characters to actually solve what that thing is. They're doing what they were going to do. And so maybe the player characters figure it out and stop that thing in time, but then maybe they don't. And then that can open itself up to, some new things. And so then that leads me to the second one there, which is I have done this several times, even in recent years, I've done this. So I improv all the time. If I'm running a game, most of the time I'm not prepping anything. Don't tell my players that. Probably players out there that have played with me, they're listening to this. But either way, improv is something that I enjoy a lot about these games. But I have also, when something unexpected comes from the players. So if the players either aren't grabbing onto a hook that I'm throwing out there, or they do something so unexpected that it throws me for a little bit of a loop, I have actually ended sessions early. And so it's like you find the stopping point, and it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to stop right there because I want to think through the next steps of this and what the repercussions are. And I have found that players actually respond to that so much better than you just continuing down a path, just completely flying by the seat of your pants without any preparation or thought or anything else. So I definitely would say, as a DM, don't be afraid to, pause the game, stop the game for that evening, play cards for the rest of the time, talk about WandaVision for the rest of the time, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And then, come back into the next session fully prepped and ready to kind of move forward. And then finally, the third thing is a little bit related to that too, but it is, don't treat your non-player characters as precious. And I think that, that's one of the things that it's like, you are coming up with those non-player characters, or you are playing them if they're in a published source. You are playing those characters in order to, just what it says on the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide, entertain your players. Like that, that is what the role of the person running the game is. And so I think that too much of the time we have what I think is the dreaded DM PC, which is, where a DM wants to play a PC. In some situations it's fine to do that, but I think that it gets detrimental when a dungeon master starts assigning more value and preciousness to those NPCs, to where they just don't want them to fail because they like them too much. And so I think that that's one of the things that is really important, whether it's in a mystery or anything, a combat, whatever else, is just remember that those NPCs are serving a function in a collaborative story that you're telling with your friends. And so it might get killed, it might get, whatever else, other bad things could happen to it. But as long as the players are having fun, that is the win condition, not whether that NPC looks cool, not whether that NPC survives, not whether that NPC is something that you can continue to bring into future sessions. So those would be the three things I'd throw out there.
Absolutely. In writing, we get the note all the time, kill your darlings. I can tell you love this, but it doesn't work, or it makes the story too long. You got to kill it. And I think kill your darlings is a great advice for a DM as well. If something's starting to feel a little too precious, don't be afraid to, poke it with a stick or throw it off the table and see what happens. Because, like Adam said, even more so than just writing a script or something like that, you're writing in real time, collaborating with your friends. So you practice being okay with the idea of an NPC looking stupid or being taken off the board entirely. Just start making those decisions for yourself as you play. It doesn't make you look dumb. It doesn't make your story look dumb at all. In fact, I think the exact opposite. It's going to give you a lot of depth and layers that you might not necessarily have had otherwise.
I think just super quick, jumping in on that real quick. You mentioned the Cult of Steve earlier, and I can't tell you from all the television that I watch, all the comics that I read, all the stories that many people out there are going to love. There is such a great thread to pull when it comes to that NPC that maybe you did think was precious and something happened to them. And then the legacy concept of how somebody comes in there. Some of the best villains that you encounter are the people who are really, really upset that something happened to the one that you actually were assigning the preciousness to in the first place. And so, again, coming back full circle to the three things that I mentioned there, those NPCs have motivations, and NPCs that the players haven't even interacted with yet have motivations. And so as long as you can bring some kind of verisimilitude to what's going on there, you can really tap into any of that, and it doesn't have to be that single NPC.
Well said. We've got time for one more, and then let's get out of here, Adam. Got a couple of questions about like different articles and stuff like that. So instead of going through them one by one, I'll say nothing's off the table. We're definitely planning on moving forward with interviews with all sorts of people, bringing in all types of different voices to get in here and talk to you guys. Encounters of the week, definitely not off the table, stuff like that. Everything's coming. I really appreciate you guys having a little bit of patience with me as I get in here and sort of figure out the airplane manual and all that stuff. It really means the world, and I promise I'm going to make it completely worth your while. That said, Adam, this is from Drunkle Vlad. When you fight an NPC, do you kill them when beaten, or just like leave them unconscious? I think this is a great question, and I think it speaks to that sort of issue sometimes with D&D of I don't know, of just being that murder hobo problem, just the hack and slash murder assembly line. I love making a decision before an encounter starts with my players, of making a decision of what the condition for them losing this fight is going to be. Even if it's they take one in the jaw once and they completely lose their taste for this. I think it just leads to so many just interesting roads and choices for your characters that are a lot more interesting than just, a pack of orcs, time to murder. Why is the pack of orcs there? I just ran sorry, mind is blanking. One of the starter adventures.
Lost Mine of Fandelver, or
no,
Dragon of Ice Spire.
Yeah, I just ran Dragon of Ice Spire, and I made one small change. The orcs that are baddies everywhere, I made the decision that their village was displaced by the dragon arriving. And now all of a sudden there was an issue of them sharing, all these refugees sharing space with the surrounding towns and the tensions that mount around it. And it makes, you know, going to rescue that farmer so much more interesting when you know why the orcs are there beyond just being orcs. And it makes that decision of, well, do we kill these guys, or, you know, what do we do with them once we've won the fight, and what does the winning the fight look like mean? Adam?
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to come down to, you know, just your session zero and the social contract around the table, right? So that is one of the things that I'm going to talk about before we ever start playing. Even when it comes to one shots, I'm typically going to say, you know, what kind of, you know, do you want graphic deaths? Do you want, you know, superhero knockouts? I mean, I was watching, you know, one of my favorite movies, The Winter Soldier, last night. And while I was trying to put my new, very rambunctious beagle, not beetle. I don't have a pet beetle, but beagle to bed. And as I was watching the movie, you know, Cap lands on the Lemurian star, starts like, you know, taking out all the people there. And I was sitting here thinking like, oh man, yeah, that guy's not getting up after they got hit right there. And then I'm like, that guy's like dead. Like that guy's probably dead, you know? But it's like in those superhero movies, they kind of just gloss over a lot of that, you know? And it's like, obviously they were unconscious and that didn't actually kill them, you know, because these are heroes and they don't do that. So I think that it's all just a matter and then, you know, on your recommendation, I actually watched a great show called Warrior recently. And there are times in that where it's like, they are, you know, all of the kung fu action that's incredible, and they are just graphically murdering people occasionally. But that's the tone of that show, right? And so it's like, you know, I think that it all is going to come down to what, you know, what your players are comfortable with. And I think that like so many things in the game, getting aligned on that with your players is what you need to do before you ever get into the situation. And then after you have that understanding, then just kind of, you know, again, through the social contract, honor those things. My preference, because I have such an affinity for superheroes, is typically I don't go into the you know, rated R complete violent action when it comes to these games. Most of the time they hit 0 hit points. They're going to you know, probably end up unconscious, where they could be questioned or, you know, whatever else that is. But some of the bigger conflicts that I've had over the years at the table was where I didn't do a good enough job running those games and getting that alignment with the players, because, you know, it creates some, you know, arguments and that kind of thing at the table. So I definitely would just encourage you to kind of get that alignment through the social contract of what's going to make the most sense and do what works best for you and your group.
Well said, sir. That's our show. Let us know in the comments what you're excited about with Candlekeep Mysteries. Your answer to any of these questions. We definitely want to hear them. Candlekeep Mysteries right now available to pre-order on dndbeyond.com. And we will be back Thursday with the dev update as a special thank you to Adam Bradford, where I do my best to emotionally manipulate him Pixar style into being a sobbing mess.
Steal my resolve. I'm going to make it.
Get ready to meet your bing bong face to face. We'll see you guys Thursday. Thank you so much for watching.
Later, Gators.